Dr. Sita, you can turn on your mic and camera, please. All right. I think there's some internet connection problem with my. Just 1 minute, right? Just 1 minute. Yeah, hi. I think my internet got lagged over there. There was some issue with my internet. Sorry for that. I think we can move on to the next guest till the time Dr. Sunita joins. I would like to introduce our second panelist, Dr. S. Harish Kumar, Professor of Engineering, Professor of Chemical Engineering, Director, Industry Liaison, Placement and Practice School at Manipal Institute of Technology, MAHE, Manipal. In his tenure, he has been able to successfully establish contacts with reputed industries and research organizations like Shell, Technology Center, SABIC Technology, BARC, Reliance Industries, ONGC MRPL, and initiated internships and placements. Dr. Harish, thank you for joining in.
Thank you, Mr. Samai.
Yeah. So our third panelist is Dr. Anil Kumar Agrawal, who is serving as a professor in the Mechanical Engineering Department and professor in charge of the Training and Placement Cell at the Indian Institute of Technology, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi. In his 39 years of experience, he has conducted more than 17 training programs benefiting several teachers and more than 500 senior industry executives from Nepal, DRDO, Bank of Baroda, and BSNL. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Anil. Yeah, Dr. Anil, could you please turn on your mic and camera? I think we'll just wait for a minute for Dr. Anil to turn on the camera. Okay. In the meanwhile, I would also like to welcome Mr. Farhan Hazarika, who is the Assistant Vice President, Marketing at Internshala, and he would be the moderator for the session today. Yeah, Farhan, could you turn on your mic and camera? All right.
Yeah, am I audible?
Okay, over to you, Farhan. Am I audible? Yeah.
Okay, sure. So thank you, Samay. And good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I'm able to hear my own voice. There's some echo. Okay, no worries. So I just proceed. So thank you, Samay, and good afternoon, everyone. So, firstly, I humbly welcome all our TPOs, deans, HODs, and faculty members for joining us today. So thank you so much for investing your time today, Dr. Sunita, Dr. Anil, and Dr. Harish, and everyone attending the session. So we hope that this session turns out to be very informative and insightful for a college fraternity. But before we proceed further, it is important to address that every institution is currently going through a rapid transformation in their own context due to the global pandemic and facing their own challenges and solutions. So more than ever, we as stakeholders need to stand up and reach out to help one another. E-Meets by Internshala is one such platform for us to unite all members of the TPO fraternity to discuss and share in an open environment how other institutions have embraced the changes and adapted to what some are calling the new normal, right? So now coming to the format of this session today, so I have handpicked 5 questions and divided it into 2 sections, and I would specifically address them to our panelists. We would then go for a short Q&A round asked by the participants at the end of the session. So I would encourage our college faculty members to type in your question in the chat box provided to you with your name, college name, and the panelist you would like to address your query to. So without any further delay, let's begin with the first segment of the session, that is discussing the ideas and best practices followed by other campuses. So the first question, so this question is for all our panelists. So I'll start with Dr. Anil. So Dr. Anil, in the current scenario, it has become very important for institutes to close the skill gap by understanding the skills required by the employers and skills held by the students. So how do you keep pace with these ever-changing industry standards to meet the demand? Dr. Anil, I think your mic is on mute.
Unmute. I think now I'm audible.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
So we do maintain very close interaction with the visiting companies as such. What kind of skill set do they require? We collect the feedback from them when they come to campus recruitment, and that kind of process is on even in this time also when the whole thing is to be conducted virtually. So collecting feedback from the company is something very important. A lot of echo is there. Okay. I request
Okay,
the
I
other
think
people
what we
to
can
switch off
do
their
is,
mic.
I
Other
think what we
people
will do
can
is
switch
we'll
off their
turn off
mic.
our microphones.
Okay, so that's one fun thing that we do. Like maybe the feedback from the companies where our students are going, that becomes very important. Second thing is that maybe even our good number of alumni are with industry. They are with the professional, they are consultants to many companies. So they come to the campus. Maybe we conduct this session with our students with these alums, and maybe a lot of feedback is coming, and that helps us like maybe in 2 ways. One, it gives us the opportunity to revise our curriculum based on the input that we get. Number two, in case the regular curriculum cannot support uh, inclusion of those ideas, those content, then the students are encouraged to maybe learn those kind of thing otherwise of the courses. So such courses, in case they are available on maybe some site, the student do it themselves, or otherwise we make provision for maybe yes calling some people itself, maybe on those topics and so on and so forth. So these are the informal methods that we adopt. So this is what we do.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Anil, for sharing those insights. So before I proceed further, so actually from the audience, we're getting a request that there is still some echo and disturbance. So in case, so for now, what we'll do is only for the presenter who is speaking, we can turn on the mic. For the remaining people, we can turn off the mic in order to avoid any disturbances, right? Okay, so Doctor, so now coming to Dr. Harish next. Dr. Harish, would you like to add to what Dr. Anil has mentioned as to how is it happening in your college and how are you sort of keeping pace with these changes?
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for this opportunity to share my experiences. So, as we all know, the main challenge with these engineering graduates is the employability. The stats says 25%, the less than 25% of the BTech graduates are employable directly. So now the main challenge with us is to bridge the gap between industry and academia. So this is in these directions we are working. MAHE, an institution of eminence deemed to be university. I am a part of Manipal Institute of Technology under MAHE. So we are working to bridge this gap of industry and academia, I would like to just highlight some few important aspects and share my experiences with it. The first and foremost unique factor is the practice school concept, which we have introduced in engineering in the 8th semester. So the 8th semester students, they do only their practice school internships or project work, don't have any coursework. When companies do come for placements, they come for both placements as well as internships, or internships alone, where a student can take up his work for 4 to 6 months in an industry or an R&D. And this is a sort of win-win situation to an industry as well as the institute, where a student has an opportunity to handle live and challenging projects in the company. And also he can enhance his problem solving skills. By the time he finishes his degree, he is ready to take up the job, and he is well versed with the company environment, and he can adopt the industry environment faster. So this is one thing which we are introducing. And most of the companies nowadays, if you see, they are introducing in-semester live projects. So this is a unique thing where we have tie-up with almost 5 companies like Samsung R&D, Dell, Cisco. These are some of the companies where they project live projects to our students. See, these live projects are in terms of problem statements of the real world problems which they are solving in their R&Ds to be extended to our students with a mentorship of a professor and a scientist over R&D. So we are taking up our undergraduate students will pursue such projects for a shorter duration of 3 to 4 months, but it will be extended again to the further students. So now they have gone to the extent of even providing the placement opportunity for those students who have been involved in such live projects. So the student has an ample opportunity to see what is happening in the real world and get involved in the institute itself with his academic activities to get into such the live projects. And also the institute encourages the experiential learning. So this is very important. So we have students driven projects, about 25 students driven projects. We have a lot of students driven projects like Formula Manipal, Solar Mobile, EV, supercomputer, etc., where students themselves will be driving, and the university will spend annually 2 crores to give initial financial assistance to the students. Finally, the students will be able to get into industry and get the sponsorship. So they learned a lot of communication and skill development in terms of building the teamwork, and accounting, budgeting, marketing. So these are some of the aspects which we provide them to learn in this teaching, the experiential learning. And we have a full-fledged innovation center, the Idea Cafe. If a student has an idea to convert this into a product, we have every scope where we have an innovation center sponsored by DST and Idea Cafe, and also the bio incubator sponsored by Government of Karnataka. So we encourage students to get into such projects which can be converted into the products. They have become entrepreneurs with this. And apart from this, to develop the skill sets and to know what is the trend which is going on in the real world, some companies come forward to give some hands-on workshop. Companies like the HP, Deloitte, TCS, they come to the campus with their own team, resource persons, and they train the students in terms of workshop to the faculty also. They do it. And apart from that, we include an experts from industry as adjunct faculty, where they try to help us in building the curriculum, any changes. So they are the one who can bridge the gap between industry and academia. We take their help. They give the leadership talk. And even we have gone to an extent of sponsoring industry-sponsored elective. Recently, Cerner has sponsored healthcare IT, where a student can take, and the scientists over the Cerner will engage students virtually to know how the industry is working. And of course, we have MOOC platform nowadays. If a student is interested, we have a licensed version of Coursera, which is free to the students. He can register freely and take some of the certified courses to build his skill sets. Because this is very important when a recruiter comes to the campus to see the student's skill sets, when he shows his CV, these certified courses have a lot of weightage during the selections. So these are some of the few aspects which we are practicing in MAHE to build or to enhance the skill sets of students apart from his basics and fundamentals which he studies in his academic regular academic curriculum.
All right, Dr. Harish, that was very, very insightful. I would say a couple of things that you mentioned. So, number one, which was the fact that how, with the evolving trends of the industry, how you've merged the industry and the, sort of academia in a way that it is growing holistically rather than growing independently, right? So, I think that is very essential at this day and age, provided that currently the industry is so dynamically changing, whereas our academia is changing, I wouldn't say at the same pace, but I think it is up to the responsibilities of the colleges to sort of do that additional provide that additional practical exposure there. And I think a couple of things that you mentioned, I think number one, which was the practice school, and also the fact that which was something that was really new to me, which you mentioned, which was the industry, how the sort of industry electives are also being provided in your college right now, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to briefly understand that what is that industry elective that you've mentioned? Like, so have you reached out to the colleges, or is it a separate course that some industries are providing for specific departments?
Yeah. So now when a recruiter comes, see, we will have an initial discussion. See, I take care of the industry license, placements, and practice school. So we just explain them what are the opportunities for an expert from an industry to get in contact with the university or in the department. So like that, we just highlight during the recruitment drive, the process. Say, for example, what I was talking is one of the electives. The Cerner, last time when they came, the senior director of Cerner proposed this idea. Why don't we have a combined an elective course? The majority of these lecture sessions is handled by the scientists from Cerner. And there is a one course coordinator. This responsibility is assigned to a department where a professor also is in charge of that. And most of these the sessions will be delivered by the Cerner experts, the healthcare IT. So this is a sort of open elective which is open to all the students, not only one domain. So we propose this as an open elective where a student even can learn what is happening in healthcare, how this healthcare IT works. So these are the long term of otherwise they will not be there. They just confined to the textbook and theoretical knowledge. So that's how we create. And also I would like to mention the internships. I think we are the maximum benefiters, MAHE as such, and we had a highest number of internships. Probably 2018 we got India #1. I think I was there in your headquarters to receive an award from the Minister of HRD. So next we got third place, but state notable mention award also. So our students are extremely happy with your internships also. Since the diversity, if you see in MAHE, we have representation of each and every state, the students community. So that's how, and also every day I'm listening from you, the students got internship with stipend, which is paid. So it's a very good initiative, which we have, linked with Internship. I'm happy to say.
Thank you, Dr. Hari. Thank you so much. So yeah, so Dr. Sunita, so what do you have to add to this? How is it in Maharaja Agreshan? How are things going there?
Thank you for inviting me and giving an opportunity to me to share my thoughts and exposures here. I think the era has changed. Now it is pre-COVID and post-COVID. So before moving on to any campuses, I think it's the student who is going to represent the college now, more than we representing a college. When you are now talking about post-COVID, it is very important that how much digitally they are sound. Gone are the days when you used to only work for one specialization. The moment we have started off with the campus placements of the current year, the company says we need multi-speciality specializations. So now skills definitely are very, very important, but people who can now work on 2 specializations or 3 specializations at the same level, even in engineering and even in management courses, If a student is from finance, the person needs to handle little HR. If a person is from marketing, the person needs to handle little finance. And this should be backed by absolutely a fair knowledge, a decent knowledge of digital skills. So digital designing, digital thinking, prescriptions, predictions, algorithms are very, very important key certifications which has to be added in any CV today. Google Analytics is something which every CV must hold now. Including BTech students, even management students are supposed to have a fair hands on how to handle the database. Because everybody is now completely dependent on digital skills post-COVID and during COVID rather. So when I'm talking about handling the database, it's difficult that we can't move into the management students, can't completely move into the coding, but it is expected that people are able to handle their backend database and they should be digitally sound. So before COVID, we only used to see the soft skills, the technical skills, and now there is a third biggest addition to it. What is your digital skills? How much you are able to expose and explore yourself digitally. You should be excellent in handling your analytics, your predictions, your algorithms. Every CV should be able to handle minimum fair knowledge of all these contents, which is very, very important. Even earlier times before COVID, people used to see the hard copy. Now, what we are doing at Maharaja Agrasen, we are preparing the video resume of every candidate, which moves from 1 to 1.5 minutes. The first skill set about the background of a student, the basic knowledge, educational. Second talks about the multi-specialization areas where the student can contribute. If a student is only contributing to finance, if a student is only contributing to marketing as a major specialization, we are encouraging students to come up with the multi-specialization and add on to where technical aspects they can move into. And third, we are moving into the third slide, that is the digital slides. What all algorithms, what all designing, what all database a student can handle in a particular specialization or an area of concern. Every specialization has a different software, different type of certificate to handle. They should be prominent, good enough in handling those specializations with the backend certifications. Also, there are a lot of assessment firms. When you talk about this First Naukri, there are Aon QQs, there is Aspiring Mind, which has now shifted to SHL, taken over by SHL. In COVID time, if you see, it's the online assessment time, completely 100% online assessment. So what we are encouraging people at Maharaja Agrasen is, we are encouraging students to include the keywords of a job description in the video resume, because online assessments pick up the keywords stated by the HR of different companies, that whatever CVs, whichever CVs are showing these keywords, it is being handpicked by online assessment partner. So these are certain innovations which we have handled, because a student needs to show these skills in more than one specialization during COVID and post-COVID time, which is very important. Second, we are encouraging more our alumni to come forward to give the guest lectures and to prepare students for mock interviews and GDs more, because they are experienced in terms of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year or 4 years from their current batch. So the movement they are going through in the corporate, the phase they are going through in the corporate, they are able to express the changes. They are able to convince their juniors, they are able to channelize their juniors in a much more effective manner. Even there are many organizations which are, the offices are getting closed, the people are getting shifted, people are made redundant, and there is an opportunity given to hardworking people that they can shift to some other department. So this grooming is especially being done by, not only by my team, but especially by a bunch of alumni who are actually grooming the current crowd more on the attitude front. If a student is only coming and demanding a particular specialization job, the alumni during their guest lectures and mock interviews, they are molding the candidate that the candidate should be now open to implementation of the specializations. Before COVID, the person used to say that we used to work on 2, 3 algorithms, 2, 3 languages, 2, 3 coding areas, 2, 3 specializations. Now it is the time when during COVID and post COVID, I think the implementation is more important, that how you're implementing the other specializations and speciality in your current specialization. So the merger and the integration of 2 to 3 specialization is the key to success today, especially in the COVID and post COVID time. So this is something which we are encouraging our students to move.
I think, Dr. Sunita, that was a very fresh and a different perspective to you mentioning the pre-COVID and the post-COVID and how the digitization of things are actually happening right now. And I think something from my own experience itself, like since we work with a lot of companies, so something that we're definitely seeing is what you've said, right? Like multidisciplinary sort of requirements for specific profiles is something that is very critical when you need to stand out from the crowd, specifically when students having like for example, if there is a marketing profile right now, marketing is not just about writing an email and sending it to someone, but it is also about a little bit of data analytics. It is also about understanding your audience. It's also about having a little bit sense of business analytics and so on. So it becomes a sort of a holistic sort of a profile knowledge that you need to have, the companies seek, even if it is a web development internship or a job. I think what they look for is not just an understanding of how to code the front end or how to code the back end, but it's also about understanding the product, understanding the business of things as well. So I think multidisciplinary sort of exposure in terms of skills, what you've mentioned, is something that is very I found it to be very in line with what the industry is also currently looking for, specifically when it comes to sort of shortlisting candidates specifically from a lot. And I think a very interesting point that you've also mentioned is like now that it has shifted into more of an online transition has happened, and a lot of video resumes or a lot of these online assessment forms are being assessed by HRs of different companies. A lot less face-to-face interactions or direct interactions happening. What you've mentioned is the insertion of keywords, understanding what the job description is, what the company is actually working in, inserting those requirements in your resumes. I found that a very interesting thing. So we'll get to that. So we have a couple of more questions sort of lined up. So we'll move on to the next question. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunita, for those insightful points. So now I would move on to the next question. So the next question is for Dr. Anil. So my question for you is that it is one of the most frequently asked questions by our training and placement officers. So one of the factors responsible for the reputation of a college is its campus placement records, right? So during these tough times, there are a lot lesser number of opportunities than ever. So how are you planning to maintain student trust engagement this year as well, given that the number of opportunities are something that compared to maybe previous years are sort of in a decline?
Fortunately, we are not facing any problem on this count itself. Let me tell you that maybe last year we had something like 200 plus kind of companies visiting us itself, and already 180 companies have all have already been scheduled. So we are not going to face any problem. But what we are saying to the companies itself, like maybe we are not finding typically hardcore companies visiting us itself. They have their own problem. So we are asking our student to become maybe yes to acquire other kind of skill as well. So many of our students, hello, am I audible? Any problem? Okay, so yes, so we are asking our students, they of their own are also trying to acquire different kind of skill. More jobs are on machine learning, artificial intelligence, those kind of things. So they are preparing themselves very well on in those areas itself. So we are not facing any problem even in this tough time.
Okay, Dr. Anil. I think that's very fortunate and great to know that. So I believe that the relationships that you have built with these companies must have been really strong over a period of time that has sort of led to this. Because I feel that where a lot of things happen is that the kind of demand that is dwindling, right? A lot of colleges are still facing it. I'm sure that certain colleges are a little bit fortunate to not have gone through that grind. Anything that Dr. Sunita, Dr. Harish, you have to add to this? Anything that you have faced, however, at your end, or something that you're doing here differently?
Yeah. So, shall I start?
Sure,
Yes,
sir.
Dr. Harish, please,
Yeah.
please.
No, in fact, we were worried when this COVID pandemic started in the month of Feb, because our regular placement used to start in the month of July last week, August first week. How to go about it? Students are out of the campus. How to plan? What is the companies? They're all working from home. So fortunately, I'm happy to say this times our placement stats are better than the last year, as on today now. So this is that I never even expected in terms of the number of offers. If you can see, as on today, we are far better than the last year with respect to placement and internships. Almost 100 plus companies already visited. As Professor Anil Kumar said, there is a challenge. There is a challenge with respect to the core companies like mechanical streams, automobile, chemical, civil, and other streams where the core offers. Not that they have not yet visited. Probably we have few which have already visited and then recruited with a minimal number. But with respect to the other sectors like consulting, banking, IT, almost it is done. So that is one happy thing. And now we are working how to go about these core sectors. Slowly they are getting their hiring numbers and they are coming back to us. Things are improving. Hopefully, because our placements end still April of next year, 2021 April, we can do. I'm still optimistic that we definitely get all the core sectors, automotive companies
Right.
do come to campus. And also, I
Right.
would like to say, with a minimal, my total operating expenditure of the institute here is zero this time, because we have an annual budget of nearly 40 lakhs to be kept for this placement drive for the hospitality, their operating expenses. We are working with zero expenditure because everything is in virtual mode. Only even companies do have challenge in conducting their interviews virtually. They are facing their own problems, which we are sharing. They are also sharing us. It is not like just coming to the campus and finish everything in a day and then announce the results. They have their own challenge, especially in the huge number. So over the years, I think this practice may continue.
Right,
Because
right.
their feeling is only thing is some sort of streamlining is required in this process of conducting their selection process,
Right.
virtual. That's what
Right.
I feel. This is my experience. Yeah.
Great. I think what Dr. Anil also and had said, and what you've also mentioned is, I think a lot of it also is because of the sectors, the industry sectors that are primarily, that are coming to your colleges, where a lot of it is looking for like onboarding can happen very easily online. I think where you still a little bit facing some challenges would be on places where certain core companies or certain core companies are having little less liquid requirements than previous years. That's what I've understood, right? So I think that is one of the problems that you're facing. Okay, all right, thank you. So Dr. Sunita, anything to add to that?
I am in the same fortunate boat where my colleagues are Dr. Anil and Dr. Harish. But looking at the complete scenario from India region, and I know there are a lot many colleagues and peers and friends here. So for them, there is a piece of advice which I have been following, because of which we are in the fortunate and the safe boat. We have always invested on the relationships more, and even in post COVID and during this time, companies are now encouraging that if they are not able to give bonus or they are not able to give increments to their current employees, they are encouraging employee referral. My suggestion to all my friends in this India region, please identify those contributing alumni who are actually working in the industry, who are being referred by the company as employer referral party, and you can definitely follow them up with a team of your own people who are encouraging alumni connect network, wherein they are getting the benefit from the employee referral and your alumni is getting linked back to the college again, and you are poured with n number of opportunities in this difficult time. Second, this suggestion you can always implement. Generally, in good times before COVID, we used to only work on the current HR database. In COVID, what extra we have done is we have worked on the extended network of our current HRs. During our public dealing in the lockdown time, we have requested each and every HR to support us with their own database. So we have also worked on their extended database. For example, if we have contacted a person, HR from Samsung, we requested the same HR to support us with 2 or 3 more references of the HR. I'm sure when you are taking the support from your alumni where employee referral is being encouraged to give more money during this time, if the company is not able to afford the increments or the bonus. And second, if you can arrange good number of interviews, good number of alumni support to the companies who are coming to you via reference from your extended HR circle, I think these 2-3 things is definitely going to help you in this COVID time. So while the companies are only coming for the current batch, you can extend your support also while you are supporting them for alumni more. So these 2-3 suggestions are especially for my colleagues at Pan India level, wherein you feel a little challenged, the companies are not turning up, the opportunities are little less. The more you will invest your time also on the good alumni and also on the good HR expanded network, I'm sure you will have no dearth of opportunities even this year.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Sunita. I think that is what I had also mentioned to Dr. Anil, that relationships are very critical at such times. He had mentioned that even last year we had a good number, this year also, and I think all of us at the panel have been fortunate to have that. And I think a very critical thing there is the kind of relations that TPOs actually have, or colleges actually build over time with our, both with the alumni as well as the sort of the HR network as well. And another thing which was interesting that you pointed out is to sort of extend our HR reach, because if we're initially reaching out to maybe 100 or building relations with 20, let us sort of try to do whatever we can so that we can get a bigger sort of pool uh, uh, for the placement. So I think that is a very interesting suggestion. Thank you so much. So now again, moving on to the next question. So actually, now we'll be moving on to a next segment of the session. So this is primarily to discuss the resources and tools that the training and placement officers can use while making their placement plans, right? So the first question is for Dr. Harish and Dr. Sunita. So there was a recent article on what are the top purposes for which the students visit the college's career services or placement cells, and it was found that nearly 60% of students majorly seek help for crafting their resumes and assistance in interviews, like assistance in preparing for interviews. So currently, although you have briefly mentioned about having various, am I audible? Right. Okay. So you had briefly mentioned about how you sort of assist your students to prepare for the interviews. But however, like, what are the tools? Are there any tools or resources that you specifically use, or methods that processes that you have in place that you use to help your students, like draft their resume and also to prepare for interviews? So, Dr. Harish, Dr. Sunita, any one of you can go first.
Yeah. So I'll start with it. So MAHE being a multidisciplinary campus, if you see the MAHE profile as such, in the vicinity of 4 kilometers, we have everything except agriculture and veterinary science. You name any higher education programs, it is there in MAHE, Manipal. So including the health science, the management, the commerce, the engineering, and the life science, you name anything, it is available. So we first try to make use of our own resource. In the sense, we have a full-fledged Department of Commerce, where the professors from these departments, they're all from industrial background, and they're working as professors in the Department of Commerce. I do invite these professors to deliver a talk and workshop on how to structure your CV, how to build your CV, how to and what is the workplace etiquettes, how to face HR rounds. It is a mock HR round which will be done by a professor who had an experience of say 10 years in industry and now he's in the academia. So they come here, they're happy to engage with us. We are in the vicinity of half a kilometer. They do come here. This time we have done virtual because the students are in their hometown. We have done all the virtual sessions which are conducted, and students are extremely happy and then could able to clarify their own doubts which they're having. And also, as Dr. Sunita was mentioning, on making use of our alumni, because as we know, we have a strongest alumni base which is excelled in industry, academia, research. They come forward. Recently, we had one alumni who had MOU in Everest Blowers. He's the owner of the company, where the corporate lead of that company is a certified image consultant. Now I am arranging a session on December 8th on first impression, the self-image and the self-esteem. This is something unique, where she's happy to engage with us and deliver a session to all of our students as well as the interested faculty. So like this, we are making use of our own resources to build this skill sets, because these are some of the important things where a recruiter looks for. So that's how we are going for it. And we also create platforms to the students in terms of their technical clubs. See, we have about 100 technical clubs, which are technical, which are cultural and professional. So what they do, it's a students-driven club with a full-fledged office bearers. Placement club is one of the clubs there. So students do initiate with their with the team, and they to conduct the mock GD amongst themselves. They invite some of these alumni who are in the corporate world to deliver a talk, virtual talks. Even before COVID, we engaged these alumni who are far away, even abroad, on virtual mode. This was a practice which used to do, so that the students gets the insight in these leadership talks. And one more important thing, what we are doing here is the feedback session of the selected students. This is very important. I think after I took over, because I was a chemical engineer, I was in chemical engineering department, worked as HOD, took over this responsibility. So what we do during the session, we have a feedback session from the successfully selected students. We earmark the company wise, and we invite all the students, the juniors, the unplaced students, and they share their experiences, starting from how they have faced their online test, their group discussion, their technical round, their HR. Company specific, say Microsoft. So what was his experience to get that offer successfully? So what we do, we videograph that for our internal circulation and make a repository. So each and every company, we have the feedback of the students who are successfully placed there, so that we take it, and any student can come and take it in my office. Suppose if he is aiming for Goldman Sachs offer, he can specifically go to those experiences shared by a student, and it helps him to work and prepare accordingly. This is how we are encouraging students to get into the placements and internship activities, and also to secure the offers of their choice.
Right. I think Dr. Harish, I think you correctly mentioned that firstly, one most important asset that a lot of colleges would already have is their internal network, right? So I think that internal network would comprise of both your faculty members, your professors, your connections, as well as your alumni. And I think getting them involved in the process to sort of help the college students is one of the most critical things. And I think that is something that you've mentioned brilliantly. And I think Dr. Sunita, do you have anything to add to this? Like anything at your end that you're doing, either the same or anything different, or in addition to this?
I would like to add that the lockdown and the COVID has really supported us well. And a piece of advice, again, what we have implemented personally, and I would also like to share that with my colleagues here. It's very important to go for a stable company. Very important for the companies, go for that companies which is investing in employee retention and the relationships. There are companies who are not offering maybe the raise, but they are offering good internships opportunity. So vis-a-vis other years of our successful placement season, what we have groomed students, as an ICF certified coach myself, I'm personally coaching the students these days that apart from the offer CTC, please go for a stable organization who has retained the employees in this tough time, who has not given salary cuts, who has given enough opportunity to be balanced, mentally balanced at your home while you are working from home, who has given the liberty to see your family along with the job at the home front. So this year we have specially encouraged and molded our students that in case you are definitely looking for a final placement opportunities, please do not ignore the internship opportunities given by the stable organizations in the world. This is something is going to really pay us, all of us, really well even after the post-COVID time. Because it is very important, even more important in the longer run for a candidate, that apart from a good CTC, he get a stable organization who is at least paying the salary even in any tough time. And also he should join such an organization who is able to retain the employees in this tough time, maybe at the same cost which they are hired for. So this is something which I'm personally grooming my students along with my team. And secondly, as stated, that yes, we are encouraging students more to look into the final placements and even in the internships, because there are companies who are not able to offer the final placement from day one due to the COVID conditions. But the companies are really nice. Instead of giving the final opportunities, there are companies pan-India regions who are offering the internships going forward, maybe for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. So our focus on our student molding of their mind is that go for a stable organization rather than only looking for the CTC or the final offer.
Right.
Second, while we are working on the students' placement more, a small internal activity which we have encouraged. Before this, students were never exposed to video conferencing, video interviewing that much. Lot of students, lot of crowd are very anxiety full, very stressful while they have to deal with the video conferencing or video interviews, because the focus is completely on the candidate, and a lot of candidates might not have that skills. So what we have started in our internal rooms is we have encouraged students to form a group of 4 to 5 students with a faculty or maybe among themselves, join each other group and continue interacting with each other for at least 1 or 1.5 hours, so that they release their anxiety and stress before coming for the final placement interviews. In case they do not want to do it in the presence of a mentor or a TPO, we have encouraged students to make a small group, and that too again from different specializations, so that we encourage multi-integrations of the specializations. And while these students are giving the interview to their peers, the anxiety and the stress is getting released of facing a camera or facing a panel. And the second level is of a mentor, who the mentor can be a TPO, the mentor can be the faculty, the mentor can be the alumni. So this has really paid us well. Both the things, the internship, molding of the students, coaching them, grooming them, upskilling them in their attitude, and second, while they are interacting with each other in the video conference, a small group of people.
Right. So I think very interesting. So a couple of points here. Number one, which was the what Dr. Harish had mentioned, which was one of the video repositories of all the interviews of companies that are very helpful for students. Second, what Dr. Sunita mentioned, in addition to it, is the peer-to-peer sort of assistance in interviews, and also, I mean, at these times, like you very rightly put, everything is happening virtually. A lot of students deal with anxiety, stress. Specifically, when I remember my own first time that I was sitting for a placement, like the level of confidence that I had, I was firstly not really sure as to what I was up for, right? So I think you initially have a lot of anxiety and stress, and I think that needs to be killed only by experience of having or sitting in a multiple number of interviews, be it with your peers even, right? So I think that gives you a sense of self-confidence that is very much essential, and I feel that is very well put. So I think interesting points here, and I think like it would definitely help the TPOs attending the session as well. So now I would like to move on to the next question. So for the next question, which is something that we've touched upon very frequently here, which is of alumni network, right? So I just wanted to know from Dr. Anil first, that having a strong alumni network is very critical for any institution's success, specifically when it comes to placement. So how do you maintain, how do we maintain the alumni connections with your students for sort of augmenting the placements?
Let me tell you that this year we did face a lot of problem. Like maybe companies backed out; they did not honor their commitment, and it were only our alum who came forward. And maybe yes, we were very fortunate to place all unplaced students during this COVID period itself. We are quite lucky. Like maybe we have 100 years of engineering education in this country itself. We pioneered engineering education in this country itself. So Benko is the oldest engineering college in this country. So we have very, very strong alumni base. We have chapters all over the country, even abroad. And we are in close contact with these people itself. We have created a kind of we have taken a group of alum itself who are part of our mentor itself. Anything, any news that we have, it is transparent to them, so they also have the hold on our nerve, maybe how are we performing and so on and so forth. So anytime they find that look, sort somewhere, they come of their own, they support us, like maybe. So that's not a big issue for us. So we're like maybe talking about the industry expectation and so on and so forth, we are quite fortunate to post about half of our undergraduate students for paid internship. So they spend about 10 weeks or so, like during this COVID period. They were mentored by industry executives, etc. So like these, they come to know a lot about what industries do require out of them. And then maybe this kind of knowledge is shared among their friends, etc. etc. So the people take a lot of advantage of such kind of experience. Besides that, like maybe we follow a different model from what is practiced by Dr. Harish itself. We create a kind of blog, and the good advantage of creating that blog company wise is anywhere I am, I have access to it. So like it's totally transparent, and the information is available on 24/7 basis. So that's the another thing we do. Like maybe maintaining, of course, good this thing relationship with alum. Yes, definitely will be good for, even for the placement. Yes, that's my take. Yes, you have to invite them also. You have to invite
Right. So I think interesting point. So basically, one challenge I would rather put it as a challenge is that you've mentioned that the alum needs to also be very engaged with the college, and I think that is a relationship also that which needs to be built by colleges over time. However, because of the reason that we had discussed maybe initially was that a lot of students who are in the final years look up to real-time experiences of their seniors as to what I mean. They're the first go-to people to know about what things are actually like in the practical world. So I think that is a definitely like alumni is definitely a critical thing. However, I like Dr. Anil very rightly mentioned, it's a challenge, however, because at the end of it, they are also busy with their own work. They're also, doing their own things. They have their own things in mind. So that relationship is a very critical thing, and it's definitely a challenge. So how do you, Dr. Sunita, Dr. Harish, Dr. Sunita, how would you sort of want to address that in case anyone is facing such a challenge, or in case if you have, if you like to add something to this?
Sure. Everyone needs acknowledgement of the good work contribution. Since last 5 years, I introduced a concept in our college. We introduced alumni yearly awards. And the basis of that alumni yearly awards were two. One, the alumni which has contributed to the current batch in terms of guest lectures, mock GDs and interviews. And the second criteria, how much alumni has contributed in the expansion of our current network of the corporate affairs. These two parameters were set to choose a particular alumni contribution. Believe me, it has given us tremendous. Those alumni not even encouraged their juniors to contribute back to the college. They even encouraged the far alumni who were not in touch in their college. So the parameters were two: people who were regularly contributing in terms of the skill upgradation of the current batch, and second, who were adding up the image of the college network. For example, they were adding the placement, they were adding in the corporate affairs, they were introducing somebody to the college for the corporate networking, for the guest lectures. So these two parameters were set to choose a student as an alumni award. And we used to choose at least 2 to 3 such alumni out of a bunch of 15 to 20 students. This was a very, very good practice, where we saw that a lot of alumni came back inquiring about the award. And before inquiring about the award, they used to say, "Man, what is the way of contributing, and what were the parameters, of getting this award?" By the implementation of such award, there were not many alumni who were very, very old alumni, even 15 years, 20 years old alumni who were working out of India, they started contributing. Now in COVID time, since everything is online, since it was an yearly affair, so this time I'm planning to do it very biannual, because the contribution is even more, and we are taking more alumni support than the any other time. So this is my piece of advice, that we can definitely encourage our alumni to come on board in these two areas, wherein we are also encouraging their efforts towards knowledge, which is very important.
Right, right. So Dr. Anil, Dr. Harish, Dr. Cynthia, just one small thing. I think you can turn your mics off when you're not speaking, because there is some, I think, resound or echo that is continuously coming. Yeah, I think it's better now. Yes, yes. So yes, I think Dr. Sunita very well put. I think one interesting point that you've made is first thing that you said, acknowledgement, right? So which is sort of recognizing the efforts that somebody is putting in to help the students per se. So the more the recognition is valued by the alumni, they're definitely going to engage with the college. A very, very interesting, I think, proposition here that could be really helpful for a lot of colleges. So yeah, so I think now moving on to the next question, which is the fifth question, which is the final question. So this is addressed to all the panelists, right? So I think the question is that how do you plan to strategize the internship and placement plan for an institution this year, especially pertaining to the regular on-campus placement? So this is more or less what we've already discussed. It's rather a summary of the kind of discussion, like in terms of like we all are currently processing everything on an online basis. So this year itself, like how so if you were to sort of give some advice to the the attendees who are attending the session today, so what kind of a plan would you sort of suggest them in summary, like to strategize their internship and placement plan uh, for this year? So anyone, Dr. Harish, would you like to go first?
Yeah. Is it audible? Hello?
Yeah, just a minute. I think there's some echo. Just 1 minute. I'll just be.
Am I audible? Yeah. Is there any echo? No? Okay. Yeah. So with respect to placement and internship. Hello. Yeah. The first and foremost, with my experience, I found even the companies are looking for the recognition of the institute. So now I've seen in most of the forms which they tell us to fill before their placement drive, they are asking our recognition in terms of their ranking. So now our NIRF ranking has become a basis for leading companies to select an institute for placement and internship drive.
I'm sorry, there is some echo still coming. Dr. Sunita, could you just turn your mic off once? I'm not sure where is it coming from, but just quickly check it once. Yeah, just do a quick mic testing once.
That if it is muted, the mic should be muted.
Yeah, just a minute. I think the usage of. Yeah, okay. Dr. Harish, you can start now once. I'll just check in case there is any disturbance.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll just mute my mic as well.
Is it audible? So, is it okay now? Audible?
I think the echo is coming from your mic itself. I think. Do you have any phone or anything kept near your laptop right now, sir?
No, it is not there. See, I
Okay,
was
okay,
in the
okay.
beginning. Hello.
Okay, no worries. So I think I'll just turn my mic off. I think you can start once. Let's see how it goes. Yes, please proceed, sir. So I think it should be fine now.
Yeah.
In case anyone is logged in from multiple devices or have any other laptops or phone next to your devices, you can sort of move that away in case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is fine.
yeah, I think this is fine now. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So now we have to work on this ranking. We have to improve our ranking. MID as such, we have we're in the bracket of 39 to 45 in NIRF ranking, including IIT. So still that echo is there.
I think what we can do is we can start with Dr. Sunita, maybe Dr. Harish.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I will rejoin once again.
We'll just
There
wait.
is
Yeah, I think you can rejoin once again. Until that. Yes, Dr. Sunita, please, you may start.
I would like to encourage and suggest and request all my friends here. This is the time when we need to invest in our personal branding too. You need to unleash your own potential, that how you managed in the tough time of your past placement record. There have been a time when you people have started something new, something different out of your own traditional way of working. So bring that potential out. Second, what I am doing, I would definitely like to suggest. I always suggest something which I have implemented myself first. So it is the implementation first and then the sharing. As an ICF certified coach, you need to, I tried giving certain extended support to my corporate. While we are working as a training placement officer for the college, in the personal capacity, we should analyze, we can definitely do a self introspection. Why a corporate should only come to you or your college? So, there your personal impact and personal branding as the TPO of a particular organization plays a most important role, especially in the time of COVID. So, what a piece of advice what I have implemented, which you all can adopt in your own personal capacities. I have started offering anxiety, stress management, networking sessions to my corporate. And in personal capacity as a certified coach, I have shared pro bono sessions with my HR and even pro bono sessions to my alumni. In the similar fashion, you can see what your personal strength can contribute to the organization and to the network outside the organization. So, to be precise, one, you need to analyze how you managed your placement in the tough time before COVID at any particular time. When there was a recession, how you managed. When there was a pressure from your management, how you managed. When there was a pressure from student side to have multiple specialization jobs, high skills jobs with high packages, how you managed. You need to analyze that how you came out from all those difficult conditions. And COVID is nothing but another type of conditions. So once you will unleash your potential, you'll be easily will be able to overcome this situation as well. Secondly, you can work on your own strength, and according to that strength, you can offer extended professional support to your network, maybe your current students, maybe your faculty in the organization. You can take various corporate network sessions with your faculty, wherein you can improve their corporate vision in this tough time. You can groom them, you can counsel them, you can coach your faculty to motivate students to go towards the corporate vision, wherein the people need to go for multiple jobs. It is very important that you work in align with your faculty for this corporate vision. And third, you can see your other stakeholders, that what extra support you can give to your HR network people and alumni for that person. So while you are implementing these external supports, you will not only be adding to your personal branding, but you will be giving an additional support on behalf of your organization to the, and I'm sure you will come out with good colors even this tough time.
Thank you, Dr. Sunita. I think interesting points again. So I think yes, I think personal branding definitely one thing, and also another thing that you mentioned, which was faculty interaction and like faculty interaction in the corporate sessions, so that even they are trained and they can equally sort of motivate and encourage students and align the coaching and training to sort of get them ready for the corporate, right? So another question that I had was since like what happens is in a lot of colleges right now that we start the sort of coaching for students towards a later part of their final semester times, right? So is there anything that you do from the very start, or is there any sort of foundation building exercises that are also done by your college, like maybe from the first year or second year itself? Just out of curiosity, I just wanted to know that.
Sure. In fact, this question has been included in my first interview, which was covered by Internshala early this year.
Right.
Though I don't have the complete authority and responsibility, but this is a suggestion. People who are in authority responsibility, they can definitely, see the area wherein they can incorporate these suggestions. You can definitely have a word with your management in a request form that whenever they are recruiting a faculty, along with the technical skills of a faculty, the faculty should be chosen on the basis of the development of corporate vision of a candidate. Because ultimately, all good institutions are definitely based on excellent academic inputs and the kind of placements they offer. So it's a blend of both the things. So while you are in the capacity of discussing with your management, you can definitely suggest. Rest is absolutely on the people in the management, whether they adopt your suggestion or not. You can definitely request your management to choose or to give priority to those people who have a blend of corporate vision, at least, even if they are not from corporate. Because we cannot take everybody from the corporate phase. There are excellent academicians available in our country. Excellent researchers are available in the country. We need facilitators. We need people who can show the implementation of those excellent academic skills in the implementation of the professional career. So while choosing the faculty, we can definitely see the blend, the corporate vision in the mind of a person. Second, while the student is being entered in the college, we do not start the grooming from the third semester or from the fifth semester or seventh semester in BTech. We start the grooming talking about the specializations, talking about the corporate blend from the semester one. However, the grooming is given more in the second semester and it gives a complete 100% focus in the third semester. Third, what we personally do is, while any job description comes from any corporate, along with the final year students, we give the same job descriptions as samples to the first year faculty and to the second year faculty as well. And specialization wise, those job descriptions are even shared with the students so that they can have a glimpse of what is happening currently in the market. And while they are starting from their semester one and they have 10 job descriptions in their hand as per their specialization, they are encouraged to see that where this specialization is landing up to. Second, I encourage my students personally not to do a internship only in one specialization. The student is supposed to choose a specialization in the second year. I encourage students primarily to go for multi-specialization internships. For example, do 2 internships in finance, do 2 internships in HR, do few internships in marketing or IT for that per se, and then choose a specialization after the implementation of those internships. Now, where you want to land up as a final placement internship portal. Because if you see a lot of students in the third semester, I am sure lot of my peers in this room must be facing this challenge that by the third semester, when a student has opted for a particular specialization, and when they go for final placement, they say that, ma'am, we are not ready for this specialization. We were not aware what this specialization will land up to. So from first semester, start sharing the job descriptions with your faculty who is teaching those students from first year. And second, share those job descriptions also with the students, and encourage your students not only stick to a particular specialization internships, because that way a student will never be able to unleash or explore the hidden choices or hidden strength what a candidate really likes, because only after reading and listening from the faculty, and believe me, only after implementing that particular specialization in the field or the research, the candidate will able to know that which specialization finally they want to go ahead. And then with this
Perfect.
much of work in the first year, they can land up to the final specialization in the third semester.
Perfect. So I think, yeah, I think that answers my curiosity and my question perfectly. Thank you so
Sure.
much, Dr. Sunita. So, hi everyone. So we're sort of running a little short on time, so we'll directly move on to the Q&A session right now. So for the first question that we have is for Dr. Anil. So the question is from Mr. Shrikant Gupta. So what strategy institutions must follow when industries are not interested in their fresh recruitments at this time, right? So I just repeat the question one more time. The question is, what strategy should institutions follow in this time of pandemic crisis when industries are not interested in their fresh recruitments?
I beg to differ from this very concept industries are not ready to recruit. I have been in touch with the many companies. One, if I shall not rolled over, I can say, like, in this tough time, many of my co-panelists, they have already told that maybe they need not, maybe the student need not worry itself. It may be a matter of few months itself. Like, the students are to be told that they should acquire few more skills. They should maybe just lessen their anxiety and so on and so forth. It's a time to build up their other skills as well. So maybe some example, like maybe if you talk about engineering, somebody is doing major in ceramic engineering. Probably this fellow got into ceramic engineering because he got poor JE score. So he could not get into, say, computer science. Now maybe in this time, like maybe yes, this is a right time for the candidate to build up his or her capability into other areas, AI, machine learning, those kind of things. And then maybe even if you think of, like, maybe you have industry 4.0 coming in a big way, like maybe you cannot to live with conventional tools and technique itself. You have to go beyond that in case you can certain areas yourself. Like maybe in case you can suggest, look, maybe this is a company who is doing something like this. Maybe you threw up an idea, and then you should be in a position to show that maybe this how you can add value to themselves. Like maybe you should command a job. That's the time. So maybe one has to do a lot of research about the company, about himself, herself, and then maybe in case you find the gap, maybe the time is there to work upon the gap. Job opportunities are there. Rightly said by Harish, maybe earlier also, that maybe employability is a big issue. We say that we have this skill, and based on my this skill, I should get a job. That's not the way. Like maybe yes, what is that company wants? Do you have those kind of skills? In case you do not have those skills, try to acquire it. Maybe either through curriculum. In case curriculum does not provide you that kind of support, go to other ways. Like maybe yes, there are other platforms you can make use of it, or you can catch hold of your seniors also. You can do a lot. So in this COVID time, maybe connecting to the people, etc., has become very, very easy. Once the students were there in the campus, they used to waste a lot of time in working also. Now once they are there at home, they have a lot of time with them, and they can make good use of their time in acquiring newer skills. So that's what I would like to say.
Right. So I think just to summarize, I think
another point, Hajarika, is like this. Of course, I do not know how the students are going to practice this. The World Economic Forum, it has already said, the besides the knowledge and so on and so forth, the candidates would be required to demonstrate that they have problem solving skill. So that maybe I know the tool, but like maybe where to apply that tool, if you do not know, maybe yes, you will not get a job. Problem solving skill, the people will have to learn. So that's something very, very important. So you know the tool, but you should also know where this tool can be applied. Do you have practical orientation or not? People like to see that.
Right. So well put, Dr. Ganesh. I think one thing that you've mentioned is that, like for a lot of companies, it is the employability that is primarily important, which is going to remain a constant even with a lot of things changing in this pandemic, right? So there may be different things that would be changing, but when it comes to employment, I think employability of the candidates is something that will always be a constant for companies. And for that, I think skills, having knowledge about companies, having knowledge about which industries, where opportunities are, is a critical thing that students should have knowledge for. And also TPOs can sort of provide this knowledge in whatever capacity possible to the community, to the students, so that they can make the most of it. So I think definitely, I think like like to just put it simply, when I feel that employability is the key, and I think once students have a knowledge of where to look for and what kind of jobs they really want, and they can definitely go for it. So now moving on to the next question. So the next question is from Professor Giribala, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, from TA Pi Management Institute. The question is for Dr. Harish. Right. So, Dr. Harish, the question is, how do you incorporate live projects into your current curriculum and assessment?
Yeah. So live projects which I had discussed earlier, say I'll give one example with the live projects which we have tied up. Say, for example, Samsung R&D has come out with a unique program called Prism, exclusively for students to take up such live projects. So what we have a thorough understanding and MOU between Samsung R&D and Mahe to have such live projects. So what the company does, see their live project, ongoing projects which are happening there, they pose in terms of the problem statements. So this time we have received about 12 problem statements from Samsung R&D. I have made an ownership to one department, say electronics and communication. Head will be the in charge of this program, and he will assign a professor. These problem statements will be disseminated to the concerned departments, HOD, and it will be circulated to a professor. Those professor who is expert in that domain can take up the problem statements, and Samsung will conduct its own online test to qualify students to take up such projects. So last time around 500 students have taken, 80 students got qualified in their test. So out of that 80, he has to make his own team, and there's a mentor from Samsung and a professor. So they will work on, it is an in-house. They need not have to go to Samsung R&D. They will do in our labs these projects, and there will be a periodic review every 15 days. They will join virtually and see the progress. The mentor as well as the professor and the team of students, and this will continue, say 3 to 4 months. And they give the progress, and these works have come out with publication, and even one of the professors is planning to file IP of his work, which is jointly shared by Samsung R&D as well as Mahe. So this is how these student projects are now encouraging, and some of the companies have gone to an extent of providing the jobs. Say, for example, they are selecting the students who are involved in such projects only. They don't want to come for extra placement drive. They're just seeing all the students who are involving in such projects, and they interview them and select based on their suitability. So this is how it's called an in-semester live projects, which we are encouraging, because this is an opportunity to know what is happening, what are the trends and recent, and they're also abreast with the tools and the technology which they're adopting.
Right. Interesting. Thank you, Dr. Harish. I think that answers the question. So, Dr. Sunita, there's one question for you, which is a common question that we're getting, which is how to prepare for a video resume. how do you ask your students to prepare for the video resume? Yes.
Sure. You can request the student to practice the resume first. Generally, what these students are doing, they are not preparing the script and they are directly recording the video. Please request the students to prepare the script wherein they should ensure that they have mentioned all the relevant educational skills properly along with the grades. Second, they have mentioned all the internships with their analysis, with their findings. Third, what digital specializations these people have acquired, especially during the pandemic time. I would also like to cover a small query here where I was seeing it in the chat box. One lady, one TPO was asking that which specializations and from where they should take. Because of COVID, lot of organizations have offered free certifications, including LinkedIn, to support the society. Don't encourage students to go for paid, certifications. It's a tough time for even their families. Encourage students to adopt maximum of free certifications available online across all portals. So while they are ready with their script, while they are ready with their resume, tell the students to make a script first of 2 to 3 pages. Suggest the student to record the script in a good expressions. While they are recording the video, tell them to test the recording for 8 to 10 good number of times and then record a final video resume or a video recording of 1 to 1.5 minutes. While the student have prepared the video after the pre-work of making a script, the script will include all the technical skills, all the digital skills, all the educational qualification. Along with the script, the person is able to show the script running on one side, that is the video resume. The first is the introduction, second is the technical skills, third is the digital skills, and the face of the candidate is running alongside. There are applications where these youngsters are much more ahead than us. They are able to combine these two things, and they, because of the help of the script, they are able to reduce the complete script to 1 or 1.2 or 1.5 minutes as well. It can even go up to 2 minutes. There is no problem. But students who are working without the script, that would be a challenge. So encourage your students to make a script first and then record, and do multiple recordings, and choose the best recording. And for that matter, once they are through with the recording of 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, tell them to send this sample as a pilot testing to their college mentor or 2 to 3 alumni. Don't share it with your peer. Share it with your faculty mentor. You can share also with the TPO fraternity, or they can also share it with the alumni. Have 4 or 5 different views, and then you will be able to make certain modification in that 1 or 2 minutes video. Script is very important.
Great.
Don't just read out your resume. Nobody is going to listen to your recording just like that. Try to present it along with you are saying the stuff at the same moment. So it's a new world while you are talking about COVID. I mean, it has given a new wings even to us.
Yeah, to add that what Sunita is talking about, some of these companies, even in recruitment, they practice this. I have seen some of these consulting companies, even recently the Bosch, which has come, first and foremost screening is student has to upload 5 minutes of his video. He has to make his introduction with all his credentials and biodata. Based on those video, they will shortlist for further processes. So this is already practiced in companies to shortlist for shortlisting of students through their 5 minutes video, self video. Yeah, this is more often nowadays. Very interesting.
And this will be, the HR will be able to see their communication skills, their attitude. You can definitely see the attitude of a candidate, that how they are carrying their own profile in a manner that the HR is getting channelized with your skills. So this is very important.
Right. Yeah. Correct. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking those questions. So we have to put a hard stop here because we're running a little shortened time. So thank you so much, everyone, for giving your time. So I'll just hand it over to Samay. So all the faculty members and all our panelists, thank you so much for being here with us today. So finally, Samay, over to you for the vote of thanks.
Before you close, I would just take 1 minute of time, please.
Oh yes, Dr. Sunita.
There is a
please.
TPO by the name of Mr. Malik, Pradeep Malik. He has put a question twice that how we will encourage entrepreneurship at this time. I will quickly support with this answer. It is a tough time. Please encourage your students to go with entrepreneurship, but not to invest money. How they can do it? Somebody who has the fund, your students can share their ideas, and your students can share the operational hard work and the smart work. So they are doing the work, and while they are looking for entrepreneurship, they do not invest the money. They look for investors, and they can put on their skills and the hard work. This is the way that you should encourage them to not to waste money, rather use their skills and look for investors, and then they can be the partners in that entrepreneurship. So this was just a quick support, but you can connect with us over LinkedIn or some other channels for deeper insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sunita. Samay, are you there? Acha, okay, I think Samay is facing some network issues, no worries. So on behalf of the entire team of Internshala, so I would like to extend a very warm vote of thanks to all the speakers and the faculty members for gracing the event today. So firstly, to all the faculty members, I'm hopeful as well as confident that this session would have definitely helped you. Also, we would be really happy to hear your suggestions on how you feel that we can help you better through our e-meets. Also, our team will reach out to you on Tuesday, so feel free to share your feedback. And also, if you have any questions, so we got a lot of questions today. So in case there are any additional questions that you have, either for the panel or either for us, please share it. We'll be happy to take your questions and also provide you answers and assistance there, right? So with that, I would like to end this session and look forward to hosting you again for our next edition of the evening. Once again, please stay safe and take care of your health. So yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having
Thank
us.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you to all the people who are in this room and who have contributed with their questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Anil. Thank you, Dr. Sunita. Thank you, Dr. Harish. See you again very soon.
Pleasure, young minds doing
Pleasure
good
talking.
work. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.